Well, hi, I'm Mark Schaefer, Director of National Accounts for Domino here in North America. Today's topic is going to be the important topic of food traceability. And given the limited amount of time we have, we're not going to talk to you about how to implement a program, and we're certainly not going to talk to you about why you should implement a program. Instead, we're going to focus on a few key topics that you should bear in mind if you find yourself in a position where you need to put a plan in place. I'm joined today by Ken Richardson, who's the principal at Richardson Consulting and a former leader in the life sciences contract manufacturing world. Ken's responsible for designing and implementing well over 75 track and trace solutions across the globe. I'm going to talk to Ken about 3 specific topics. Ken, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate taking time out of your busy schedule to share your wisdom and knowledge on this topic for those that might be new to traceability. The questions we have, Ken, obviously are intentionally general in nature, but we'd love to get your insight and your thoughts on whatever particular aspect of those that makes sense. The first question is the importance of selecting the right partners. In the early days of the life sciences serialization, our experience at Domino was that it was a pretty steep learning curve to understand the challenges. And I'm curious what insights you might have to how to manage those risks and how to select the right partners and what the process looks like.
Sure. Yeah, that was a pretty big task for us, right? When we got into serialization, it was still kind of cutting edge.
Sure.
Now it's a little beyond that, but to choose the right partner, first you need to choose your right internal team, right? Make sure that you have your team, you have engineering, quality, operations, and IT all aligned. Sure. Everybody's fighting for their own reasons for doing the project or reasons not to do the project, really. Yes. So make sure you have the team in place so that when you go through your vendor selection, you're not going backwards and redoing work or meetings that you had. So with that being said, it really is important to pick a few vendors that have experience and have gone through this in the industry. One of the things you want to ask these vendors when you're qualifying them is, how many installations have you done? What locations have you done? How do you support your clients? What do you guys do as an organization to help my organization learn and grow along the process? But you really need to understand beyond just price, right? Don't shop price. How big is the firm? How many locations have they installed in? How do they support you? What's their spare parts program like? What's their service program? You need all of these attributes and elements beyond just price. At the end, you'll get to a price, right?
Sure.
Everybody wants to do a deal, right? And they all want to talk price first, but really, really dig into who is that vendor going to be and how are they going to support you as an organization?
Ken, that's a great point. That's a perfect segue really into the next question. I wonder what insight you have in terms, and I think you just touched on some of it, but any other suggestions on how to mitigate those risks and how to better manage that?
Sure. So some of the initial surprises are within your own organization, right? Is your ERP system up to date? Can it adapt to the traceability requirements that are going to be put on it for the interconnect? Sure. So first you're going to need to look at your internal organization. If your systems and structures are going to be able to support the new technology, you may find that you're running an ERP system that's 10, 15, 20 years old. And you may have to replace your ERP system just to get in the game. Next, your production lines, right? You need to choose if it's going to be a vendor that will give you a bolt-on solution and you're going to use existing leveraged equipment, or you're going to use a new piece of equipment with it already integrated, right? Some of the advantages there are it's integrated, you can do an FAT, prove that it works and not interrupt production, bring it into an install and do an FAT. Some of the financial benefits there is now you can recapitalize that line. If you just bolt some bits and pieces on, right, you're only going to be able to capitalize a small portion. But if you're already requiring a line makeover or an upgrade, you can use traceability then to leverage to capitalize that line over again for an extended period of life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me add another question to this, Ken. It's maybe relevant to these two topics. obviously internally, you've got a lot of different departments in your organization that tend to have to work together on a solution like this. A lot of them that traditionally didn't work together in an organization. At the same time, you've got a lot of different partners. It's typically these type of solutions aren't a single partner. There's different OEMs involved, hardware, software. Can you talk about the importance of them working together and working together on your behalf?
The only way we were able to do that was to select the right partners, okay, and then make sure the partners were aligned with each other. One of the key things is if you're going to do an implementation, make sure there's one owner. So if there's a major piece of equipment that's going into the line and they're going to integrate, partners such as Domino or another serialization vendor, you want to make sure that there's one point of accountability, right? My experience in the past, trying to do it piecemeal, is at the end of the day, if something's not performing, right, they're pointing fingers at each other. It's a blame game, right? Yeah. I'm working with another client right now. We're looking at a large implementation, and I'm driving this same fact: one point of accountability. Make sure the vendors are aligned internally with each other, and they're going to deliver a turnkey solution to you, the customer, and they're accountable for that turnkey solution, right? There's one point of contact, one point of accountability. And I've always said this to everybody in the industry: I only get hollered at one time for price.
Yeah.
But if that line doesn't perform day after day and shift after shift, right, you're just going to get your butt kicked.
Sure. And that's a reality when you put these solutions in place. There's, by the very nature of the solution, there's a bit of a hit to efficiencies, and there's a learning curve to, even with the perfect solution, there's still a learning curve in bringing the system online. So the better aligned you are there, the better the ultimate outcome.
And the more support they can give you, because it is a learning curve.
Yeah.
Right? So if they could do a man in plant and put somebody in your plant for the first 60 days of operation, so that they're teaching, troubleshooting, and keeping your efficiencies at best, right, while you're going through it, there's an advantage. Some vendors offer that.
Yeah.
If you select partners that have to fly in to support you versus a partner that has a satellite office an hour away, or they have the remote dial-in capabilities that can support you instantaneously, right? These are all of those elements I talk about other than price. Right?
Sure.
Don't get hung up on price, because everybody will do a deal, right? Yeah. But make sure you're getting the right vendor with the right experience, with the right support, that can deliver the performance that you need.
The ultimate price value balance you have to walk through. And I guess that's a great lead into the last question. And when you put a traceability solution in place, you go from, at least from a coding perspective, from very basic information to now there's an awful lot of data moving around. There's a lot of things that are different in terms of managing information. Compliance is one component of this, and it certainly was in life sciences and in the food traceability world, with whether it's Food Safety Modernization Act or other initiatives. The compliance component is absolutely critical. But we all know if there's a business case or some other value you can deliver with that solution to mitigate the costs or improve the ROI, it certainly makes it more palatable to address those people you talked about earlier inside the organization who are looking for all the reasons not to do it at all. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on how to leverage that information and leverage that data for things maybe not as traditional as the straight traceability?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, the one aha for us was when we started up a few of the lines, everybody was hyper focused on the production numbers, right? Okay. And they were focused on really the delta from where it was to the hit for the new technology starting up. But when you really get into it, you then point out, you say, well, wait a minute, you were really only at 62% efficiency, and now you're complaining because you're at 50, right? Let's work to get you back. But why are we at 62% efficiency? So all of a sudden, the operations or the finance folks or the IT folks were dialed into this data that today is just data.
Sure.
Right? You put a new system in, and then it's hyper focused. And what we did is we saw that after the ramp of the technology, we had another ramp of the performance in the overall line, because now all of a sudden people are looking at it and measuring it, right? And if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. So you do get a lot of that aha moment when you start dialing in and looking at your production lines that are on any given day acceptable. But now you introduce new technology and they're looking to typically, put blame on a system, unfortunately.
Sure. No, that's great.
Part of that. And then you can use the system to get real-time data, real-time production numbers. There's a whole huge benefit on the production floor, let alone just the compliance aspect. I think my biggest thing is don't delay, right? If you have the opportunity and you have the capital and you have the corporate support, start your process now. Start selecting your internal team members so that you can select your external partners, get a pilot program started. What we found at the life science side of it is people delayed, and then the surge created a backlog for equipment. Don't get caught in that trap, right?
Great guidance.
You really want to just come out of the gate, stay strong, stay the course, be the first to market, and you'll gain benefits from that.